Now, we're back again, and as I mentioned in the last video, we're going to take the same function that we had last time and find the x and y intercepts, but this time we're going to represent the function using vertex form. Okay, so we have our function from the previous page written in vertex form, and we still want to find the x and y intercepts. Well, guess what? The foundation of the process that we use does not change. To find the x-intercept, we still want y to be equal to 0. And to find the y-intercept, we still want x to be equal to 0. Okay? So, remember f of x is y, so to find my x-intercept, I'm replacing f of x with a 0. Now I need to solve this equation, right? Now remember the order of operations: parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. Now that's the order in which we go when we're simplifying an expression. If I want to undo that or solve an equation, then I need to go backwards. So I'm going to undo the subtraction first. That means I add 7 on both sides. So I have 7 over 2 times x plus 3 squared. And then I need to undo the multiplication, and I do that by dividing. So we end up with 7 over 2 is equal to x plus 3 quantity squared. Okay, now I need to undo this exponent here, right? And since the exponent is 2, I can undo that by taking the square root of both sides. Okay, so that gets me plus or minus the square root of 7 over the square root of 2. Well, I don't really need these parentheses here. Sorry about that. But I don't actually like this fraction here that I have on the left-hand side. The reason I don't like it is because I have a radical in the denominator. Now, in order to get rid of that, we're going to rationalize the denominator by multiplying by the square root of 2 over square root of 2, and that is a skill that you saw in chapter 1 of this course. So square root of 2 over square root of 2 turns out to be a 2, and then square root of 7 times square root of 2 is just the square root of 14. And you can pause the video and talk to one of the tutors who should be near you somewhere if you're having trouble remembering what's going on here. So we have that fraction there being equal to x plus 3. So my last step here is to undo this addition by 3, and I do that by subtracting 3 from both sides. So what we have is negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 14 all over 2. And that's my x. Now, if you watched the previous video, you may be wondering, well, this doesn't exactly look the same as what we saw as our answer in the previous video. Well, just remember, I could find a common denominator here, right? So that, let's come over here, right? That negative 3 there is actually negative 3 over 1, plus or minus the square root of 14 over 2. And if I were to find myself in LCD, the LCD would be a 2. So then I have to multiply this one here by 2 over 2 so that they have a common denominator. And look at what I have. Negative 6 over 2 plus or minus the square root of 14 over 2. And if you recall, this is the exact same as what we had on the previous page. Right, once we add the 2. So that's negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 14 all over 2. And remember, that's negative 6 plus square root of 14 over 2, and negative 6 minus square root of 14 all over 2. So these are our two x-intercepts. Now, unfortunately, finding the y-intercept isn't quite as easy as it is when we have our function written in standard form. Nonetheless, we can complete it without too much trouble. So we want x to be equal to 0. That's the same as finding f of 0. So we replace all of our x's with 0. So that's 0 plus 3 squared minus 7. That's 2 times 3 squared minus 7. Remember, exponents first. So 9 times 2 minus 7. That's 18 minus 7 because multiplication comes next. And there we have 11. So just like last time, f of 0 is 11. All right. Now remember, if you have any questions about anything that you just saw in this video, be sure to grab your tutor's attention and they'll help you. You guys have a good day.